Hello and welcome to the Big Time Strength Podcast, featuring small school strength coaches making the big time where they're at. This week, our host, Coach Preston Peterson, brings to you a high school strength coach who is doing it big time in the high school setting. We really appreciate you guys tuning in, and I hope you enjoy this week's show.
Hey guys, I wanted to thank Gage for letting me come on the show and interview some awesome high school strength coaches. I got to start out with one of the best strength coaches around. Coach Scott Meier is currently in his 20th year at Farmington High School in Minnesota, where he is the head strength and conditioning coach. He is also a physical education teacher and teaches sport conditioning, weight training, and 9th grade fitness for life classes. He coached Farmington's competitive weightlifting for 9 years, and in that time, the Tigers earned 4 state team titles, had 40 individual state champions, and multiple state record holders. Coach Meier is the current Minnesota State Director of the National High School Strength Coaches Association and has over 25 years of experience in the field. In this episode, we talk about how Coach built the strength and conditioning culture at Farmington, how he develops leadership and buy-in. He explains some training that he calls brutal recess, and he also discusses middle school strength training. If you would like to contact Coach Meier, you can find contact info in the show notes. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please subscribe on iTunes and share it with other coaches. Hope you enjoy the show. Hey, Coach Meier, I really appreciate you coming on the Big Time Strength Podcast. Let's get things started by telling us your journey through strength and conditioning, kind of where you're at right now, who you work with, and your role as a strength coach, but also a physical education teacher.
Yeah, thanks, Preston, for having me on. I appreciate it. I'm at Farmington High School in Minnesota. We're a suburb of the Twin Cities, and we have an enrollment of about 2,000 students, a little bit over 2,000. This will be starting my 20th year here, both as the head strength and conditioning coach and physical education teacher. I was at the middle school teaching there for my first 10 years and then moved to the high school. Prior to becoming a high school coach, I was a personal trainer for 5 years and then kind of went back. After that, I got my undergrad degree from the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse in exercise science. Went back and got my teaching license and have been at the high school level ever since.
That is awesome. A lot of different experiences and a lot of experience to draw from. I had a chance to go see you, I guess. It wasn't that long ago up in the Minnesota area, and just the amount of coaches up there that way that are at the high school level doing an awesome job. One of the things that each one of them do, and they kind of take you through as I've met more and more people, is they give you their mission statement or their core values that they're trying to instill within their student athletes. What's kind of your look for your department mission, vision, or core values in that way? Yeah,
and I'm kind of in a little bit of a unique situation, but one that works out great, being both a PE teacher and a strength coach. Because all my classes are weight room type classes, and there's another guy that also has all the weight training classes. And for us, really, we kind of approach it as just one big giant umbrella. You know, what we do in class is the same as what we do with our athletes after school. It's what we do with in season. So it all kind of blends in together. We don't necessarily have a separate strength mission compared to a PE mission. It all blends in together for us. And the kind of core thing for us is we want kids to be active. That's our goal. Be active, be consistent, and really we want to expose them to things that they hopefully will enjoy doing, or activities that they like that they'll continue for the rest of their life. You know, we want kids to be active now and stay active. So that's really the goal of the overall kind of look at what we're trying to accomplish. And then obviously goals with our athletes is speed and power are the two primary training goals for us.
That's awesome. I'm like in the same trenches as you, man. It's so much about just like that lifetime wellness. How can we get there? And it's really cool just to talk to coaches and see, just about how they're getting that done. So one of the things I want to know is how do you maximize your resources? You said you had 2,000 students, in your high school. You're working probably with a good chunk of those students, at least, sometime within their 4 years. What are you doing to maximize your resources, your space, your department, all that type of stuff?
Well, the biggest issue for us is kind of a space issue. We're fortunate. We've got great buy-in and commitment from our students. The only PE requirements that kids have for graduation for us is just one trimester in 9th grade and one trimester in 10th grade. So basically everything beyond that is all electives. So our weight training, our sports conditioning, those are options that kids choose, and our numbers are just going through the roof. We've got a weight training class this past year. It was every hour of every trimester. So it was a full load there, plus we're doubling up with other classes. So there are multiple days a week where we have to share the weight room with two classes. And our class sizes are up to, some of them were over 50 kids in a class. So trying to be creative, with getting that number of kids in the weight room during a class and getting an efficient workout in, that's kind of critical for us because it's a lot of bodies in there at once. So kind of one of the ways we have things set up for workouts are kind of doing station work. We always start with what I call our big three. We always do some sort of lift in the squat racks. So typically it's going to be a squat type of lift every workout. Then we're always have one group on the platforms where we're doing either an Olympic lift or a deadlift or RDL, something like that. And then we've got kind of a multi-rack station where it's pretty much an upper body push or pull on that. So we always start with those three, and we always rotate. Everyone rotates at the same time. So that makes things pretty efficient with flow of athletes and students through the room. So that's kind of a big thing for us, that getting that structure and keeping kids on task and not having kids float around, moving around the room. It really helps keep everyone organized, and as a result, the workouts turn out to be a little bit better.
To, like organize and do all that type of stuff, what are some of the resources that you use to optimize that?
Well, as far as resources, financially, we get a little bit of a budget for FIED every year, and that also goes, for PE equipment, badminton rackets, birdies, balls, stuff like that. And then we kind of split maybe half of that total budget with weight room stuff. So we can kind of get some small things as far as equipment goes there, but really the strength and conditioning program is self-funded, and we run that through our summer program and kind of run it like a camp. Coaches aren't paid by the school in the summer. It all comes from the summer program. So whatever is left over after we pay summer coaches really becomes our budget. So we're able to buy equipment that way. But I try to, because we have such high number of kids coming through the room, just buying one of something doesn't really work very well, getting, 50 kids or whatever through it. So we always have to buy multiples of whatever it is. So we try and hold off as long as we can. And then we can get a full set that can be used by a class, then we'll go ahead and do that. We also started using Train Heroic probably almost 3 years ago now. We're lucky our school district is heavily invested in technology, and we're a one-to-one iPad district where every kid gets an iPad from the school. So we don't have to worry about lack of devices for getting workouts. So when we switched over, started using iPads in class, we went to the Train Heroic, and that's been awesome as far as tracking and getting data records on kids and updating things. And that's been a huge time saver for us too, working with the sheer volume of kids that we have.
I think just the system that you've got going on is pretty amazing, and with all that organization and accountability that you guys are so far into, what would you say the culture of your department looks like? We have a great buy-in from our coaches and our kids. I'd say in general, kind of especially compared to some other programs, we're pretty laid back. I'm not a screamer and yeller coach, and I'm not a big hyped up kind of guy. Some of my assistants do a great job with that, but overall, I think we got a pretty good relationship with our kids. They buy in with what we're doing, and we don't need to, get all over them about stuff. They're pretty on task, and there's a mutual respect between all of us, I think. And kids just do a great job of getting after it on themselves. They push each other, and I think it's a great culture. There's a high level of expectation. And kids realize what that is, and they know what we expect of them, and they really get after it. For a new coach like myself, one of the things that I really, really enjoy is learning how you built that or how you got to that point. So it obviously didn't start there. What was kind of the process of getting to the where you're at now?
It took a long time. I've been here 20 years now, and it certainly wasn't that way when I started. I think it comes down to head coaches really making it a priority and sport coaches and getting their kids in. Once our kids get kind of committed to the lifting and they see the results themselves and see what it pays off and how it benefits them, then they're hooked. But it's just a matter of getting everybody in there on a regular basis. So some of our head coaches are awesome at doing that. Most are lifting in season. Some don't push it quite as much in the off season, but overall the kids totally get it now once they're in. And it's just a matter of kind of developing those habits and the results are really what kind of hooked them, I think.
That is something that I've started to see is just more and more buy-in comes from when they get to see results and they get to see that it does work, and that's a fun time, for the athletes, obviously, for the students, for the coaches also. It's just really fun to see that all come together.
Yeah, we test 4 times a year basically. Because we're on trimesters, it works out awesome for us because it really aligns closely with the sports seasons. So, at the end of the trimester, it's also kind of the end. So when we test, we really test both athletes, off season and in season, and as well as our classes. So, when we get to that testing time, I'm always nervous because, you hope things are going as well as you want to, and you think they are, but then when we get to that crunch time, we actually get the numbers. I love that time. It's fun to watch, and the kids the results always show up, which is awesome. But just seeing the look on the kids' faces and how they react to some huge gains, it's just, I just love it. It's awesome.
That makes our job really, really fun. That's something that just keeps us hooked, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So what are some ways that you build team camaraderie or that joy that you see in your student athletes or even just developing leaders in general?
Well, we try to give leadership roles to seniors, and that's starting already this summer with next year's incoming seniors. Just being leaders, being great examples, taking charge of stuff, and helping to push each other. We also try to do, when we do lifting groups in the weight room, we're always talking to kids about, be a leader, hold your partners accountable, work with each other, don't let someone slack off, and really pushing accountability with each other within your group. And then we do some stuff outside. I call it our brutal recess, which is kind of our like CrossFit type stuff with tire flips and sleds and sledgehammer, stuff like that. We always try to make those competitive a little bit. So we'll do small groups, we'll do relays as kind of finishers, and those things are really good for team building, get a little competition among teammates, but kids working together and pushing each other, that really has helped a lot too, I think, as far as that camaraderie and really working hard.
Man, I tell you, for anybody that follows you on Twitter or Instagram, they love seeing those videos and just the competition. I have had other coaches talk to me about your brutal recess. So what do the kids think about when you get those on social media? And is that something that they talk about a decent amount?
Yeah. They always want to know what we're doing, and I really try to mix it up over the summer. We do brutal recess. It's about twice a week, but I try and change it up so it's really over this summer we're not ever doing the same thing twice. It's always something new, and really it comes down to just it's awesome outside. It's better outside than inside. But it's just like muscle endurance, kind of our high intensity interval training stuff, but super hard work. We want kids, busting it every time, but also fun and unique at the same time. So this is something I kind of even make up stuff partway through the workout. Like, hey, let's try this, and if it works, and awesome. If it doesn't, we'll try something else next time. But really, it's just all about hard work and fun at the same time, and the kids just love it.
I love watching it, man. It's cool. So one of the things that you're there 20 years and you continually make things better. I've seen it all over your accounts, man, on social media, just like your continual pushing to get better. Where do you see your department in 5 years? What's kind of your vision, and where do you want it to go?
Kind of a hard question. My window right now is looking really short term. We've got a new second weight room that we've named the Jungle. And that's one thing that's really going to help alleviate our space problems in our main weight room. It's a small room. It's only like 1,600 square feet, but it'll be big enough to take a whole class or a whole team in there at once. It looks like basically it's a giant jungle gym made out of squat racks. But we got like monkey bars overhead, so we'll do a lot of hand type stuff. But it's going to complement what we can do in our main weight room by doing a lot of different unique things that we can't currently do. We're not going to have any benches in there at all. It's going to be mainly ground-based movements. But we're getting, like in our main weight room, we have dumbbells, but we don't have kettlebells. So we got kettlebells for the new room. We're going to do a lot of TRX things. But it's all, the goal for me now within this next year, it's been kind of a year in process of putting it together and how we're going to be utilizing it. Now it's really putting that plan into action and getting kids in there and trying to figure out how to best use that room. Beyond that, over the next 5 years, our goal is just to keep increasing our numbers, get more buy-in from kids during the day for our PE classes, get teams committed in the off season, and just keep getting bigger and building on that in general.
When students get to see the jungle, I guarantee the participation numbers and just wanting to be in that room probably has to skyrocket, doesn't it?
Yeah, just the look on kids' face. We have the racks all in now. We got a great setup from Sorinex, and then our equipment's coming all from Gopher Performance, and that's coming in probably this week. But kids have been in there now, and when they walk in the room and see these racks, it's just the look on their face is pretty funny to watch. I'm still in awe myself walking in there seeing what we got. So I'm pretty pumped, and the kids are really excited to get in there.
That's sweet. I'm excited to see how you guys use that room. What is the toughest hurdle you have at your current position, and how do you overcome those challenges basically, day to day, if it's trimester to trimester or even yearly? What's that look like?
Really the biggest issue for us is that space problem. So we're kind of overcoming that or getting some help with that with the jungle. Really beyond that, we've got great support from our administrators. Principals are all on board, athletic director, and really the superintendent, school board. Everyone really loves kind of what we got going, and it trickles down to our middle school level too. One middle school has an awesome new weight room they got 2 summers ago. Our other middle school now has some equipment, so there's really a great support system for us in what we want to accomplish. So the small daily things I don't think are any different than anybody else. You've always got a few motivational issues with kids, or you got ups and downs all the way through. But overall, our biggest issue is that space issue, which I think we're going to have a little help with now starting this year.
I think the program that you've got going on is amazing as far as the people that you say that have come on board and helped out and all that type of stuff. And one of the things that even you just mentioned in this last little bit was at the middle school level. And I've seen a couple of your coaches at the middle school level, and they're doing some pretty awesome things. What is their mission, or what are they looking at? Are they trying to prepare for high school? Is this something that they can currently do, every class period in physical education at the middle school level? Or how did you guys get that all set up?
It was just kind of a push from the guys there. When I was at the middle school, we had that, and then there were some budget cuts, so they kind of got rid of it. So basically, kids have an option of taking either, a couple years ago, it was either PE, or they could opt to do a weight room for a quarter and then switch. Now they've got actual weight training or strength training classes there. And it just kind of built itself with the new room now there. They've got, I think it's 7 double-sized squat racks with inlaid platforms. So equipment-wise, they're set. And initially they kind of came to me, but their goal really is to get kids prepared for the high school program. So they do real basic stuff. They're working on squats. They intro both Olympic lifts, cleans, and snatches, and boy, they just make my job really, really easy, because I got these kids coming in now at ninth graders who they're set. We can jump in full bore. And they just do an awesome job. Both those guys were former strength coaches at their school. I've got a lot of coaches around within our PE program and the district who are other coaches who were strength coaches in their previous schools. So we're real heavy on the strength side of things and really experienced and got some great coaches. So it makes my job super easy having guys like that around.
That is really cool that you've got so many people on staff that you can just draw from. That is something that makes professional development or whatever you guys are doing together just a blast to be around. The thing that I'm sure it comes up within your guys' conversation is your training philosophy. And you've talked about a few of the things that you guys are doing, maybe specifically to a room or whatever, but could you give me an overview of what you say your training philosophy would be?
Well, the main kind of points, and really this kind of goes all the way back to the Husker Power when I heard Boyd Epley talk a long, long time ago, that ground-based movements are the key of our program, doing as much on your feet as you can. And then multi-joint exercises too. We're doing, you want to get the most bang for your buck. We very rarely do isolating type movements. Everything's full body or upper body, lower body if we can. I use the triphasic principles. So we do, over the course of a trimester or season, we'll do a full triphasic cycle. We kind of start out with a block 0 for a week or two, and then go to a eccentric block for 3 weeks, isometric block for 2 weeks, and then kind of peaking at the end. And that's been awesome for us. One other thing that kind of makes us maybe a little bit unique is that we squat every day. I do I call it a modified push-pull split, but we're squatting every day. So we throw that in there. Front squats usually combine with cleans, back squats usually combine with snatches. And then every day, whether it's heavy or light, we manipulate those training factors, but we are always squatting at some point, pretty much every single workout.
You hear people talk about that and what that looks like, and kind of there's a view of like how can somebody squat every single day? And I think you mentioned it just a little bit, but just the changing of intensity and that type of stuff. What are some of the ways that you vary that squat, and how does that look? If you have an in-season athlete or an out-of-season, is it generally the same across the board for you?
Yeah, pretty much. Our in-season teams lift either 2 or 3 times a week, kind of depending on competition schedule. And then our off-season program, it's very similar. It's just a higher volume, higher intensity, and we'll go either 3 days a week or 4 days a week. Basically, I kind of stick to my big 3. Everyone starts with those big 3, and then in season, that's all they do are those 3 stations: a squat, a Olympic lift, or deadlift, or upper body lift, and then they don't do the auxiliaries, so they can get done in about a half hour. Our off season, we go a little bit higher volume, a few more sets probably on every exercise, and then add on the auxiliaries. But the squatting stuff, we kind of rotate. I do a back squat, a front squat, and then I guess I got it from Cal Dietz. He calls it a sport back squat, which is a narrow stance back squat with your feet kind of right below the hip joint and pointing straight ahead. So we kind of really rotate between those 3 every time we squat or every workout. And then, it's an undulating periodization. So Mondays for us are kind of the medium day. Our heavy days are in the middle of the week, and then our lighter weight, higher rep days are usually on Friday, Thursdays or Fridays at the end of the week. So between those things, rotating the exercises as well as the intensity and the volume, it allows kids to do it. When we first started switching to it, it was kind of a hard sell, but when kids started seeing their squat numbers go way up, then they kind of bought in. It was always used to be the question, are we squatting today? Now the question is, well, what kind of squat are we doing today?
That's awesome. That's something that if more and more people buy into that, they're going to see the progress. And you talked about the results earlier, man. I can only imagine just the way that everything just pays off for them in the end, and they just buy into that much more.
Form and technique, that's kind of squatting is a skill. It's a movement skill, and just like anything else, the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. And our depth is better. Our form is way better than it used to be, and so it's just repetition and practice.
It's such a simple concept, but so hard to implement at some point just to get past that mindset. And I think it's awesome that you're doing that and proving that it should be done and can be done.
Yep.
The other thing that I have a question about really is what does your beginners and advanced lifters look like? Are you putting that all in one class? Are those separate classes? Do they help each other so that they can learn together? What does that look like for you guys?
It kind of depends on, classes. We have a 9th grade Fitness for Life class, we call it. So those are typically all beginners at that age, or coming from the middle school with that experience. So they kind of work together. Our girls basketball program, in the off season, they like to have everyone all in together. So I've got some 7th grade girls in there now working with varsity girls. So that experience range is huge with them. But they do a great job of pairing up older upperclassmen with the younger incoming beginners. So the older girls really help out the younger girls in that situation, and they do an awesome job with that. It's kind of the same thing with our girls soccer this summer too. The experienced girls do a great job of helping out and with those younger girls coming in. Typically our program in general is very similar. The learning progression is a little bit longer with the beginners. We'll start out, we do a lot of goblet squat type things and body weight squats first before switching to a bar. But once we kind of get into things partway through a trimester or a season, the workouts are basically the same. It's just a lower intensity. We don't go as heavy and focus on form and a little bit higher rep. But, once we get things rolling, it's basically the same program. It's just a little bit scaled back version.
The opportunity to have, your older girls or your older guys pouring into the younger people has to be over time a great benefit. Is that something that you've come to enjoy a little bit, is just to see that process of maybe a freshman, getting older and becoming a leader later on?
Yeah. Yep. And even kids, just seeing kids, they get in the habit, even the younger ones, when we do finally switch or they don't need as much help, they start helping each other because that's, kind of what worked for them. So if they see something their lifting partner's not doing correctly, they'll talk to them and help self-correct each other, which is great to see. It's just, it just kind of becomes a habit and a thing that they know that's what we do. So it's awesome to see.
That's great, Coach. What are you excited about learning and improving on in the next year as a coach?
The biggest thing, and I've been trying to implement more of this really in the last years, is adding, talking about agility training and adding that reactive component into that, and getting away from, for the longest time really, and this is what everyone did, you do, change of direction drills, where it's line drills, cone drills, stuff like this, which, now we're kind of realizing doesn't necessarily carry over to the actual game and sport itself. You don't have that reactive component like you do in your games. So we're trying to add more of that. So for me, it's, there are a lot of great drills out there and, stuff you see on Twitter and Instagram, but they're small group type things, in a small space. And I've got, this summer, our first session for kids, it's almost 200 kids all at the same time. So setup for those type things is hard. Communication when we're out in the field, if I'm in the middle, can people on both ends here? So it's just trying to figure out a good way to come up with those drills where I can use with a large group of kids or do in a gym with a full class. But really trying to add more of that reactive components, which the more I do it, the more I love, and it's certainly important.
I've been on that same venture. I've been looking to see how we can make it more reactive based, more sport based, and
Yep.
and knowing that we're not trying to get it to be so specific to a sport, but more general idea. How can we react to a stimulus? And I've everything that I've seen you put out, Coach, as far as working with big groups, it's amazing. And I would say that's probably my number one big problem right now is how do we make all these reactive drills accessible to a large group, if that's 40 kids, 80
Yep.
kids, above that.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say, you mentioned a couple, what would you say some of the biggest things are in doing that, and what are maybe some of your go-to ways to incorporate?
Well, it's hard. I'm still trying to figure things out actually myself. I think, using human cones has been great for us. That's been a cool thing. So instead of doing like cone drills, you actually have a person standing there. So you can get a lot of people involved kind of at once. So we'll have kids like running down a line and back, but having people standing in the way. Then you can have those moving, so they need to kind of react. Which side do I take, or how do I get around this person most efficiently? Doing some, like tag, cat and mouse type things are super easy to do and easy to incorporate. For me, the stuff, at least with the big groups, I'm finding I'm doing most just because of space issues and having a large group. It's a lot of linear stuff, in changing how you react to starting, stuff like that. There are all kinds of different direction things, but they take up a lot of space. So that's one of the things I'm trying to figure out, a better way to get a large group through, because some of these drills can take a lot of space just individually with one group.
No doubt. And I'm going to continue to follow you as you try to figure that out. And maybe at some point, instead of me just stealing all your stuff, maybe I can push some solutions your way also.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I'm always looking for new things and trying to get new ideas. But a lot of it's just kind of experimentation, which, I think that's another thing that kind of keeps, at least for me, trying to push the envelope a little bit. It's just trying to come up with new things. And, I'll even tell the kids, like, hey, I just thought of this. We're going to try it. We'll see if it works. And, then kids also come up with ideas. They'll come up with something great or suggest something, and we'll try it. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, just like stuff I do. But then now they feel like a part of the process too. They came up with this awesome drill by themselves. So, always trying to find something new that works.
Talk about more buy-in, right, Coach? That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. So speaking about, always trying to push the envelope and learning and that type of stuff, what are some of your favorite professional development resources that you go to? It could be books, articles, podcasts, any of that type of stuff. What's kind of your go-to stuff?
Yeah, one of the best things right now, I think, it's through the National High School Strength and Conditioning Association. On their member page, they've got all kinds of resources, stuff, things from past clinics, videos, articles. The NHSSCA is just formed recently. It's a high school strength coaches association. It's just outstanding. And I know you've been on there and you've seen the stuff that they've got. That's one of the biggest things I've seen. For me personally, simplyfaster.com has got awesome articles. In fact, I just retweeted something this morning about Bulgarian split squats. They've got all kinds of in-depth stuff, all things training. It's fantastic, and a lot of it even is maybe more in-depth than I even need as a high school coach. But boy, they back up everything with science and super detailed. There's all kinds of good podcasts too. This one now is on my list. Just Wyatt Sports Performance is a great podcast. Pacey Performance is good. CVA SPS is a great one. Ron McKeefrey's Iron Game Chalk Talk's great. There's just all kinds of great, resources on podcasts. It's just a matter of finding the time to catch them all.
There's no doubt, man. Driving, mowing, all that stuff now has become my podcast time, which is great just to catch up on what everybody's doing, but also like you're saying, pushing the envelope, finding ways to learn. You mentioned the resource of the National High School Strength Coaches Association, and one of the things that I think is just so amazing, and you've already said it, is just them putting out so much content and all that type of stuff. And you yourself, you're the representative for Minnesota, and I know there's so many things that go along with, taking on leadership roles like that. What is something that you've kind of said, like this is an organization that I want to be a part of? What would you say to high school coaches around the nation? Where are some of the ways that they can get involved or maybe even just start to learn more?
I would say, check out the website. It's nhssca.us. that gives you kind of an overall, general look and a peek into what the organization does and what it offers. But every state, it's divided up into 8 regions. So there's a regional director, and then every state also has its own director, and they're all listed on the website. So I would get in contact with that person and get on their list for contact if they haven't. The Facebook group page is awesome. There's questions. People throwing out questions, all day long and getting multiple answers from people. And the thing that's impressed me the most is the amount of sharing that goes on between the coaches. I haven't seen any egos. We're all high school coaches. We're all at the same level, and everybody is so open and willing to share. It's just unbelievable. So, if you need help with something, you got a question, a training question, really about anything, you throw it up there on the Facebook page, you're going to get all kinds of great answers from people. I've just been blown away at how quickly this organization has grown and the number of quality coaches that we've got at the high school level. It's just awesome.
I would say that's one of my favorite things about it is just being able to get connected with other coaches within the same, situations that we're in. Me being able to connect with you and learn from you just because of that organization. And there's so many, places that you wouldn't know what to do possibly, or if you had a question, it'd be really tough to, just go ask the local college or anything because it's just not quite the same type of situation. So I really appreciate you telling us a little bit about that. The last little bit here, we call it the finisher. And it's just 5 quick questions just to wrap things up. So, favorite office snack?
Well, my favorite snack right now is almonds. I don't know if it would qualify as technically office snack, but yeah, that's my go-to snack right now, almonds.
There you go, keeping you energized the whole day. Along that same thing with energy, favorite caffeine source?
I'm a coffee drinker, black.
There you go. No sugar or anything. Just keeping it black.
Nope, nothing.
Favorite workout playlist?
For me personally, I'm a kind of an old school metal guy. So 80s metal, anything with Metallica in it's going to be good for working out from my point of view.
Perfect. What about if you yourself, you've got 15 minutes to train? What are you doing?
I'm gonna do a 3 lift circuit, some kind of squat. Probably pull-ups and bench press. Rotate between those 3, get as many sets in as I can in 15 minutes.
I figured you'd say squat.
Yep.
Small school coach who's killing it and deserves a shout out.
Yeah, Jeremy Christensen up in Minnewaska area high school up in Glenwood, Minnesota. They're kind of in the middle of the state. I just kind of got connected with him over the last year or so on Twitter, and he's just doing an awesome job up there. Their school in general, I think the total enrollment is listed at like 275, so it's a small school, 9 through 12. They got an awesome weight room. They got a new turf field, and he's just doing a fantastic job up there with what he's doing. And I grew up in southern Minnesota. My graduating class was 80 kids, and I think half of those kids were from farm families. So I kind of know what it's like growing up in a really small community like that. And there's guys at that level are just doing a great job. It's tough. It's tough.
I definitely am going to have to check him out, see how he's doing and what he's up to.
Yeah.
Coach, I really appreciate you taking the time to knock this thing out and just to share your knowledge and the things that you're doing up at Farmington. Thank you for everything that you've done this far, and I hope that you had a little bit of fun going through this too.
Oh yeah, awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it, and this is a great podcast. I love the idea.